Sal Capaccio now on the West Her Hotline. Good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. Jeremy's off. Nate Geary is in this morning. Bills practice, Gabe Davis. A lot to get to with Sal, who is a couple days away from going down to Tampa, which I'm sure you always like that trip, Sal.
Yeah, I do. Good morning to you, by the way. Happy National Radio Day to you guys.
It's National Radio Day. All right.
See, yeah.
Awesome.
I want to make sure you got that in there. You can talk a little bit about how great radio is. I love radio. It's great. It's a chance to kind of just talk about what's going on with the Buffalo Bills. And yes, this weekend, Tampa. I do like the trip because I have friends down there, and I live not too far south, like maybe an hour and a half south of there overall. But, these trips are quick, though. They're business trips, right? I mean, right, I know people joke about that, but it's true. It's a business trip. We're not there very long. You get an evening in there, and it's going to be in and out, not like Chicago. Chicago last week was you fly in on Thursday, you got the joint practice Friday, have all day Saturday, you have all day Sunday, the game. So another night game, though, on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday night, 7:30 for the Bills and the Bucs, who they also will see in the regular season, which is not normal. I'm not saying it's never happened, but I feel like that's not something you see every year.
It's interesting. So I actually reached out to Mike North, and I asked him about this when this happened. And I said, why would these two teams play in the preseason when they also play in the regular season? Now, I don't know if you guys remember, this happened in 2018 for the Bills. Josh's rookie year, A.J. McCarron was the quarterback, the comeback against Chicago. Remember the preseason?
Yes. Yep.
That same year, they played the Bears in Buffalo. And that was the last time that happened. So I asked Mike North, I said, do teams schedule? I thought the teams had a say in preseason. He said, no, it's still the league. The league does all of it. He said, really, it comes down to travel a lot of times for preseason, which is odd because this is a longer flight. So, Buffalo to Tampa is like 3 hours, right? It's a longer flight than, it's not an East Coast, Northeast city. But he said they really didn't. It's the third preseason week. They don't play till later in the season, which is true. It's mid-November. But I just found it interesting, and I agree with you that they wound up matching these two teams up in the preseason. But yeah, that's the league's doing.
Yeah, I also would think any year they played the Lions in the regular season, that would have been doubled up because forever, obviously, they played the Lions like every year in the preseason, but that finally ended a few years back. So I'm sure it's happened even more than a couple times. So yesterday at practice, I'll get to Gabe Davis with you as well a little bit later, but McDermott making his comments about the safety position. It seemed very, I think you wrote it this way, matter of fact when he was talking about the position, and you don't often hear him be so direct, I would say, about what's going on at a position battle.
I agree, and I really like what you brought up this morning about Terrell Bernard. I think it's a great comp. If you're wondering, about past and how he's treated these things and the way he's talked before, this has happened before, and he talked about Terrell Bernard like this, and I think it gives you a little bit of solace thinking about what this position could become. I'm not saying that Cole Bishop is going to become Terrell Bernard, who's a fantastic player right now for the Bills, but there was concern during year two, the training camp of year two for Terrell Bernard, and what Sean McDermott said, and he kind of echoed the same thing. What he said back then was there needs improvement, and what else was it? What was the quote again, Joe? You had it. You were talking about Terrell Bernard and what he said about that, but they weren't settled on that spot, right? And they were still kind of, figuring that out. But either way, he said the same thing here. He said, I think we're looking for that other safety to play alongside Taylor Rapp. And then he went into some good moments. Obviously, you got guys that are back there, young guys, veterans, but how quickly can they grow if they're a younger player? Always looking to figure that other piece out. Right now for us, we know who T-Rap is. We know what he brings. The other piece, who plays with him. So I think that's interesting. It opens the door to a lot of possibilities. Now, my first inclination is to tell you the Bills still want Cole Bishop to be this guy, right? I can't imagine they're not thinking right now, oh, my God, we're just going to move on from Cole Bishop right now. That's not going to happen. Could they have the door open for someone else? Sure. But the first candidate will be in-house, and that's Cole Bishop, that's Jordan Hancock, that's Cam Lewis, that's Damar Hamlin. Then you look outside the organization. I can't see right now a safety coming in from outside right now today and just starting week one. Maybe it could happen because you guys know what it means at that position to have to play it, to have to learn it, to have to know it, to get that chemistry. They're still hoping that's Cole Bishop. And I think that he's still going to get this. Now, what's complicating matters is I really thought Jordan Hancock could be that guy as of going in, Sunday. But he's hurt now. He's not playing this week, most likely, according to McDermott. I don't think you can now suddenly think that Jordan Hancock's going to be the starting safety if he can't even get on the field this week to play in the third preseason game.
Do you think with all of this happening and him being on the field at the moment, Sal, that they still will go with Bishop, even if they're maybe not happy with how many reps he's had, and I don't even know what you would say about like what kind of camp he's had when he's out there, and whether that's also looked poor or it's just the availability. But do you think we're still headed for he's the safety on the field against Baltimore?
Well, I do right now because of what I said, which is I don't know if you have any other options right now, unless you just feel that he's hurting you so much that you have to put Damar Hamlin back there, right? I mean, that would be the option. Or, oh my God, we'll just take a flyer on Jordan Hancock. See, I don't think you're going to do that. At the very least, it's okay. We're going to have to trust Cole Bishop more than Jordan Hancock because he hasn't been out there either. He hasn't been playing. He's a rookie, and he's not getting that time on task. The only other options are Damar Hamlin or Cam Lewis, maybe Derek Forrest, but I think it's a struggle to make the 53 at this point for Derek Forrest. So yes, Joe, I think the answer is right now, I would still say it's very, very, very likely it's Cole Bishop. Now, if you open the door to another safety joining this team, that's fine, but are we talking week 1, week 4? Like, how quickly could that person get up to speed on what they need to in the Bills' defense?
I also think the question, Sal, goes to if you're going to bring a safety from out of the organization, well, that likely means one of the safeties here in this room that you had planned on making the 53 are no longer in the 53. So I think that also makes things a little bit more difficult. And I mentioned this, I think, to you maybe Sunday, and mentioned this earlier this morning to Joe, is I'm willing to have the conversation about Jordan Hancock, but until he's even listed as a safety on the team's depth chart, it's like it feels hard for me to even consider that an option outside of like just Damar Hamlin. And I think that's really where the decision becomes kind of easy for me. And I think probably for the team too, right?
Yeah, I hear you. I do. I understand that, Nate. And he is kind of between the two positions. But I'll tell you, he's pretty much just been a safety. He's not just. I shouldn't say it that way. You're right. Like, he's playing both positions, but like he has been more of a safety than he has a nickel corner, and I think that their vision right now is for him at safety. Now, that said,
wait, hold on, though.
He got hurt playing nickel corner on Sunday. Yeah, actually, with the position.
My only question to you is going to be our follow-up to this is how much of that is because Cam Lewis right now is also injured.
It's a great question. And he did miss last week. Cam, he was back yesterday, which is good. Yeah, Jordan Hancock scenario is a good thing because you're training both positions. He can play both positions. It's also a bit of a conundrum, right? Which is if we're training him both places and he's not focused on one, is he truly ready to play that position if we need him, right? And I think that's what you're saying, which I agree with. But I thought he looked good. But he's still young. He's still a rookie. And if you're gonna think you're gonna live with mistakes from Cole Bishop, you're definitely gonna live with mistakes from Jordan Hancock. But I could definitely understand any sentiment out there that says, well, I'd rather do that than from Cole, who hasn't been as available, and I haven't loved what I've seen. Joe, back to your question of availability versus play, I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, the availability has been an issue, but when he's been on the field, it hasn't been great. Like, it wasn't great Sunday night, but that's a big part of the availability is that because, as Sean McDermott says, you gotta be on the field to get that experience, right? You're not gonna. Yeah. He used the word callous. You're not going to build up the callous of making mistakes and understanding what you did wrong. Like, you have to have all of that is part and parcel to each other. So it's an interesting position. I think about going outside the organization. I know Justin Simmons' name is floated out there. I don't know. Could you afford that? What does he look for? There's a reason he's probably not signed yet, guys, right? Is he looking for too much money? Can the Bills afford something like that? And then even if, I'll go to him, go to anybody. Even if you brought in a safety from the outside, again, at what point do you say, well, we just can't put him on the field yet? He's not ready to do that yet. So we go back to week 1, which is all signs point to Cole Bishop right now.
Right. Man, this whole conversation does make me think, like, man, we were so spoiled for so long with Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. Even Hyde, by the way, I do. That position is interesting for, like, how guys get there. As we talk about Hancock, and I have the preseason snaps. PFF has him 48 snaps at free safety this preseason and 4 at slot corner. So it's been mostly safety when he's been on the field in these 2 games. But But like how guys get to the position, we had a caller, Sal, and I'm sure you're going to get this on Twitter and maybe on the phones too. Like, hey, why doesn't Tre'Davious White play safety? And it's like, okay, well, we're probably months past, that as a consideration. I don't want to ever be like, that could never happen, because you do see some corners that will make that transition. Micah Hyde was this, right? Like, Micah Hyde was a nickel corner that would also play safety in Green Bay, and the Bills thought, well, we can make him a full-time safety, and obviously that bet cashed as much as any could ever cash. So like the whole Hancock conversation and guys that, sometimes do both, Cam Lewis, same thing. Like, I do feel like safety is one of those positions where there's a little bit more versatility from other spots.
Yeah. I mean, the Tre'Davious White part of it.
That's like,
I want you guys to just, I want anybody out there,
yeah.
I want anybody out there to just do this. And this is not a knock on Tre'Davious White. It's just not his game. But close your eyes. Envision Tre'Davious White in the middle of the field playing safety and having to come up and fill run gaps and run support in the middle of the field between the tackles.
Yeah, that doesn't seem.
I mean, that's not what his game is.
Yeah. No.
Right?
No, not at all.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Taylor Rapp or Cole Bishop or DeMar Hamlin or Cam Lewis. That's what they do. Right? That's what they do. Right. That's what Jordan Poyer did. That's what Micah Hyde did. That's a totally different game. I mean, Tre'Davious White, even at a corner on the outside sometimes, like, he's a little bit smaller. You saw him take on a couple of guys in the Giants game, and, he's got to get him down, right? I mean, yeah, he'll come up and he'll help out and run support, but you got to play. There's no such thing as really free or strong safety anymore. I know what you said from PFF. It's both. When you play safety now, you're in the box a lot or you're back deep. It's one or the other. So that's not going to happen right now. In fact, when Tre'Davious White signed with the Bills, re-signed, we asked Brandon Beane about that in the media room. Like, could you ever see him transitioning? His answer was basically, yeah, we've never thought about it. It's not going to happen right now. Like, right. Is that something that down the road, like, he didn't even open this door necessarily. Maybe he did, but he basically said, not a thought, and that's not happening. He's a corner. That's what that's what he plays. So yeah, I wouldn't go that far at all with Tre'Davious White. The other part about this is, because you brought up Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. I mean, I've had people ask me about Jordan Poyer. I mean, Jordan Poyer knows the system, but didn't we see even 2 years ago, his last year in Buffalo, he was a little bit behind, right? And then even last year in Miami,
that was
tough. Even more so pronounced. And I don't even know if Jordan Poyer is intending on playing football anymore. I don't know that. I haven't seen anything about him, working out or doing whatever. I think I saw him on some retreat or something a few months ago. And then Micah Hyde obviously retired. So yeah, you always want to think about guys who might know your system. I totally get that. But I think those ships have pretty much sailed right now.
He said, I'm looking back on it, in May, Poyer said he'd absolutely love to play in 2025 and retiring with the Bills would be ideal. But like you said, he might want to do that, but man, the wheels look like they fell off. Like, speed-wise, and I wouldn't think he's got the... I don't think there's enough athleticism left for him to be like a realistic starting safety option, especially. Maybe there's like a future of him doing what Hyde did, where like he's on the practice squad for veteran leadership and break glass in case of emergency, but I can't imagine ever him being like the plan A starting safety.
No, and the other part about this, Joe, is it's such a really good conversation about like Hyde and Poyer, what they meant for so long and why that is, right? And I think part of this is like when I stepped back yesterday, I took a little time to step back and kind of think about where they've been at safety and what they've done. And I think one of the things that's happened here is it's so new, not just to us, like in Buffalo with this position because of what you said, Hyde and Poyer. It's actually kind of new because it's Sean McDermott's position, right? Where he's been so good at having safeties no matter where he's been. Whether you go back to Philadelphia when he was coaching their defense or Carolina coaching their defense, these always had good safeties. And it's not just because they fall out of the sky. Yes, they have good players, but this is a position where he's always been highly regarded as a coach. Am I wrong? Right? That's correct, right?
Definitely.
You would agree with that.
Yep.
He's always been highly regarded as defensive backs, safeties, developing guys, understands the position. I mean, at one point, people were saying he's the safety whisperer, right, or defensive back whisperer, because they've done a good job of developing defensive backs under this particular coach and this particular regime. So I think that's part of why we're all kind of, oh man, this is different, because you're so used to this particular coach and coaching staff having that position buttoned up, even going back to before Buffalo. And I think that's part of why we're kind of having this, wow, what's going on discussion. And when you hear Sean McDermott specifically talk about it like that, that's when it becomes even more alarming, I think, for fans, because he's the guy that he's always been good at making sure that that particular position is buttoned up.
Yeah, defensive back whisperer has been said over the years. Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. Other things yesterday from practice, Sal, still no Max Hairston. Not that anyone was expecting him to practice yesterday, but McDermott was asked about him. And aren't we nearing a point maybe in the next week or two where if he's not on the field, then maybe what would the options be? An injury list?
Yeah, so here's, I think, what's going to happen. By the way, we are less than a week from yesterday at 4 o'clock. Next Tuesday at 4 p.m., final rosters are due. So you can play the game in Tampa on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So 3 days later, you have final rosters due. Max Hairston, according to Sean McDermott, he's making progress, but he's a ways away, is the way he said it. Okay, so what that tells me is next Tuesday at 4 p.m., I think you're going to see Max Hairston on the IR designated to return list. So what happens is the Bills will get 2 guys next Tuesday at 4 p.m., 2 guys that they can put on injured reserve who don't count on the 53, don't have to make the 53, and they can still come back after 4 weeks. I think that is tailor-made right now for Max Hairston. He gets an extra 4 weeks to be around the team, rehab, facility, all that, and then they can kind of slow play it. And then let's remember, the Bills have a bye week, week 7, and really you kind of get a little bit more ramp-up time for him because he can come back after those 4 weeks. They can practice. It'll be very similar to like a Hoyt and Ogunjobi situation, right? Those guys will go on a suspended list for 6 games. Harrison would have to miss 4, but I think you'd kind of put them all in the same bucket with getting that time off, time ready to get back. So yes, I think that's probably what you're looking at right now is next Tuesday, Max Hairston goes on that IR designated to return list.
All right, to Gabe Davis, Sal. So yesterday it was reported by Jordan Schultz that he would be visiting this week with the Bills. Jerry Dulac out in Pittsburgh said he was having a medical follow-up with the Steelers. They didn't love his medical concern, or they had medical concerns his first visit, and then he said that he will be visiting with the Bills tomorrow, which would mean today, on Wednesday. So the Davis idea for you, is it a weird fit to put him onto the depth chart? Does it make sense for his skill set? Like, how do you see a potential Davis reunion with the Bills right now?
Well, there's 2 sides of this. There's Gabe Davis' side, and there's the Buffalo Bills side, right? If you're Gabe Davis, first of all, let's remember what happened with Gabe Davis. He went to Jacksonville. He signed a contract. He got paid. Jacksonville then releases him with an injury designation in May. You know what that means? He got paid in March. He was guaranteed, and he got $11 million in March from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know if he actually specifically got it yet, but he's getting $11 million this year from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Regardless of anything that happens, where he signs, where he doesn't sign, it doesn't matter. In the meantime, he's been rehabbing his knee. He's been rehabbing his injury. Part of the reason he hasn't signed is because teams want to make sure he's fully healthy. And it really hasn't been the case up to this point. So I believe, the way I read into it and just things that I've heard and know of, that Gabe is getting close. And even Josh referred to this yesterday. If you listen to Josh's press conference, he said something about he's getting close to being healthy or 100%. That's what Gabe is right now, close to being that. But teams weren't ready to sign him because he wasn't yet, but now he's getting there. And if you're Gabe Davis, you wouldn't want to necessarily sign over the last couple of months while every team has 90 guys on the roster, all in the training room, getting their reps, getting their treatment with the athletic trainers. When you can do your own thing, get rehab, get your own personal treatment. And oh, by the way, he owns his own performance and fitness center in Orlando, right? He can do it right there. So I just think it made sense for Gabe Davis to take this approach. And now these are wellness checks for me, the way I look at it. He's going into Pittsburgh. He's going to Buffalo. He's getting checked up. Where is he now? Where is he on his timeline? Is he ready? My guess is teams will figure that out, and if they are comfortable with that, probably not even sign him, Joe, until, if anybody signs him, after cuts are done next week. Because why do that now? I mean, you could, just to make sure you get him, you could do that. Or you could say, let's see what else shakes free. Because maybe there's somebody out there we want that we like more than him, right? And we can bring him in. So I think that's it from Gabe Davis' side. From the Bills' side, Sean McDermott said yesterday they're the top 3 receivers we know. Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Joshua Palmer. After that, it's up in the air. And I think that's where Gabe Davis comes in, which is, it doesn't have to be. I've seen so many people say Tyrell Shaver's insurance. He make it over this guy, make it over that guy. I just think you put him in a bucket then with Curtis Samuel, Elijah Moore, Tyrell Shavers, Laviska Shenault, and he elevates that group, right? You add him to that. I know that he's been a polarizing guy in Buffalo. I totally understand that. But you can't convince me that Gabe Davis being added to that group doesn't make the entire group better. Of course it does. That's competition. That's a guy that, you bring in that can play in this league and has done a lot of really good things in this league. And from the Bills standpoint, I think more than anything, and I'm going to tell you, I know fans hate hearing this. A lot of fans do, not everybody, but I'm going to say it. The Bills love the fact that they can bring guys in that they know, that they don't have to worry about practice habits, that they know he's a hard worker. He knows the offense. He won the Iron Bill Award 2 years in a row for the Bills, the hardest worker in the offseason. He stayed on the field. He was a willing blocker. He did all those things, the nitty and gritty. People might not love hearing that, but that is something the team really cares about. And if they're going to bring someone in, you'd much rather have a guy like that than a guy that's an unknown.
Isn't the dirty work, the blocking, that type of stuff, Sal, also something that, I don't know, do you feel like they have enough of that on their depth chart? Like, I wonder about how much they wanted to keep Matt Collins and him leaving being about him wanting to just go or whatever, getting a contract he liked in New England. And he did a lot of that stuff last year. You have Coleman for it, but do they have another guy that you would see on the 53-man roster that would be able to do all of that? Because Davis, you absolutely would think could do all of that type of stuff.
I don't know if they do, maybe, but I would say that I can't see right now Gabe Davis running down and covering punts like Matt Collins did.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
right. I think that's just something that he probably wouldn't do, so I don't think you're signing him for that. So I think you have to kind of separate him from guys who would do that, like Tyrell Shavers. Mm-hmm. Tyrell Shavers, he's been on the field once or twice for I think Matt Bove gave me a stat last night from Always Game Day in Buffalo. We talked about this. I think he read somewhere that Tyrell Shavers has only been on the field once for a punt during this preseason as a gunner. I know that they were working him on Friday in that joint practice against the Bears, but I don't know what the plan is there if they have somebody. So yeah, and again, let's always remember that position, that isn't wide receiver against wide receiver. That's wide receiver against DB, and mainly DB, maybe linebacker, whatever, because there's certain guys that are going to make the team based solely on that, right? However they want to do that with certain positions. Yeah, I don't think that it has to be so clear-cut black and white. You bring Gabe Davis in, this one guy is gone. You bring Gabe Davis in, it's for this guy to be cut, and it's insurance against this other guy. I think if you want to do it, you bring it in because it collectively makes the group better and you figure it out. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to elevate everybody on the roster, not just the top end, but the bottom end as well. And I think Gabe Davis fits right in with Samuel, Moore, Shavers, Shenault. And he would be on the team. By the way, for financial purposes and clarification how this works, so let's just say they sign Gabe Davis tomorrow. It would be a minimum deal. He's getting, because no matter what he gets from his new team, all he's doing is getting less that money from Jacksonville. He's tapping out $11.5 million this year, guys. It doesn't matter if that makes sense, right? What I'm saying. So there's offset language. So if he gets $2 million from the Steelers or the Bills, then he's getting $9.5 million from Jacksonville. Either way, he's getting $11.5 million combined. Right. So why would he force anybody's hand to get any more than that? So to me, he signs a vet minimum deal, which is $1.2 million for a guy for his year's service right now. That 1.2 as of right now would not even go on the cap. You know how much would? $200,000, because all he would do is replace number 51 on the roster for the top 51 salaries that count. So if he signed today for 1.2, 200,000 of that would count against the cap.
Which is nothing. By the way, Shavers 1 snap in 2 preseason games on punt coverage, which, by the way, was not the most incredible stat that I saw from Matt Bove yesterday. It was that Tyrell Shavers and Gabe Davis are the same age, which blew my mind.
Right. Well, it's crazy. A great point. Matt said this on Always Game Day last night. You know what he said? And you're right. He said how many times he's heard people say, I'd rather go with the young guy with more upside.
And they're the same age.
They're the same age, and Gabe Davis set an NFL record in a playoff game.
Right. 26 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know what's more incredible. The Shavers is 26 years old or the Davis is 26. Probably Davis being 26 years old.
Yeah, I would agree. That's pretty.
Feels like he's approaching on 30, but he is not.
So, we'll monitor it, though. We'll see where it goes. I don't know. I can understand from both sides why it's where it is right now.
Yeah.
And if it winds up happening, it doesn't have to be because he's taking the spot of a guy that you think could be so much better than him, who's a lot younger, and Tyrell Shavers. And by the way, I love Tyrell Shavers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think he's done everything you've asked of him to do the last 3 years.
I also think it's still unlikely, Sal, that he would end up signing here. I mean, it's going to depend on what teams feel comfortable with, if the medicals are fine. But from his vantage point, I've still always felt like the Bills competing with, for a guy like this, when the money's going to cost nothing, and you don't really have, I mean, McDermott said it yesterday, they kind of know their top three. So not that Davis couldn't have a role here and wouldn't be comfortable here, but that team he just visited yesterday in Pittsburgh, like there is a much clearer path to a starting job on a team like that than there would be here. And that doesn't mean they can't get him. It just, I think that's going to be tough to compete with.
That is a great point, but I want to throw this at you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you're Gabe Davis, okay, and this is just from people and, talking with people about, Gabe, and I know some people that know Gabe and just kind of figuring it out. If you're Gabe Davis, do you look at it that way? Because I agree with you. Like, that's something that I would think about. Because I don't think that Gabe Davis or any other real competitor does. What they think is, I'm going in there and I'm going to get a job. It doesn't matter. I was number 2 to Stephon Diggs for 4 years.
Right.
Like, I can play in this league, and I can be over the top of the other guys, too. Yes, Joe, I think on the surface, I agree with you. From the outside looking in. I don't know if the player thinks about it that way, though.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. Those guys are competitive.
Right? I mean, like,
They're
they
think
think
they can be the number one.
That's right. They're going to think it doesn't matter. I'm going to go somewhere and I'm going to be on the field because I'm better than, and I can contribute and I know what I can do. Right? Yes, to me, you're right. And by the way, they have a nice little skill set of offense they got with their tight end and DK Metcalf. Right? Like, it's not great, but they have a couple guys that he can play with and he can fit right in.
Right.
I mean, here, Stephon Diggs was the number 1 wide receiver and really good. And then Gabe Davis was basically the number 2. And he had Cole Beasley on the team.
Mm-hmm. All right, Gabe Davis. 13's available, by the way, as a number.
Ha.
I think, right? Because they released Jalen Virgil, injury settlement or something.
Yeah.
So that's available, too. All right, lots to say on this. More coming throughout the day. We'll see if we get any more updates on Davis and the Bills. So Sal at WGR550.com's got the details from practice yesterday. Check that out. Thanks, Sal. We'll be listening later.